candidates. Coming up next is a candidate in my hometown in New York City, Edwin DeJesus, who's running for City Council in District 22 in Astoria, Queens. So we want to welcome Edwin. Hi, Edwin. And we see Logan is still there, but thanks, Logan, for coming by. And Edwin, welcome.
Hey, Gloria, thanks for having me.
Yeah, terrific. So start off by, telling everyone a little bit about who you are, what your race is about, why this race, why are you running?
Yeah, so my name's Edwin DeJesus. I'm a lifelong resident of Astoria, Queens. I was a former national advance for the Bernie Sanders 2020 campaign. When that came crashing down, partially due to the coronavirus and partially due to the trickery played by the DNC, I realized that I needed to make change in my local community. I've been seeing a lot of change, but it's been negative change. A lot of the local mom and pop shops have been going out of business due to the greed of large corporations like Amazon. Gentrification is a huge problem in Astoria. Even before the pandemic, a lot of stores were closed down, but obviously COVID-19 has accelerated all of these issues. And so I wanted to run outside of the duopoly because I feel that Queens, the epicenter of the COVID pandemic in April of 2020, has been through a lot of suffering, not just because of a virus, but because of the failure of the two-party system of corporate politicians who would rather put profits over people. And that's why I decided that I would take the liberty to run as a Green candidate after voting for Howie Hawkins in 2020 and wanting to carry the torch of Bernie's progressive movement after there has clearly become some sort of leadership vacuum on the left.
And thank you, Edwin. Can you tell us a little bit about your district? This is actually a district that has had Green Party candidates run before. Tell us a little bit about Astoria. And I know, I'm not sure in your district, but I think people heard even nationally that the borough of Queens and some areas in general was really devastated by kind of the aftermath of Hurricane Ida. And is there any focus there that you're looking at in your campaign around resiliency and sustainability?
Yeah, we simply need to raise our infrastructure around the shorelines. I actually live pretty close to a shoreline, and my building was flooded very badly up to waist level. All of my ground floor neighbors were flooded, including my super, who has no renter's insurance. He lost everything, $20,000 worth of personal belongings. So what we did was we set up a GoFundMe for him and his wife, and we were able to raise over $3,500. Obviously, that's not enough, but it was the least that we could do. And we want to make sure that every single resident in Astoria has access to those kinds of mutual aid on the ground. And you are right. Lynn Serpy ran as a Green a few years ago and got over 14% of the vote. Astorians actually do like the Green Party. The Greens are viable here in Astoria. We are going to be the first Green candidate to actually win a New York City Council seat because of the people of Queens.
Great, thank you. And I'm really, it's heartbreaking. I'm so sorry to hear about the people in your building. I didn't realize that came as close as home for you. That during that storm. Can you tell us maybe some of the other issues you might be running on? How is the campaign going? Any highlighted events that you think would be important for us to know?
Yeah, so I was the lead organizer for the New York City March for Medicare for All. As you know, you were one of our speakers. It was an excellent event. We had Chris Smalls, the Amazon warehouse whistleblower, as our MC, Susan Sarandon as our keynote speaker. Medicare for All and healthcare as a human right has always been one of my core policies. Now, on a city level, obviously, we can't have Medicare for All, but what we can do is fund New York City Care, which can guarantee New Yorkers who are either uninsured or underinsured free healthcare at the point of service. So what I'm saying is what we need to do is take money from the billionaires who exploited workers during this pandemic and amassed over $1 trillion in wealth, take that money and give it to the people in the form of guaranteed healthcare. Because when everybody has healthcare as a human right, we become a much safer society, and that is the best public health policy.
Thank you. Yes. Yeah. And as a healthcare worker in the city, I can agree with that. So actually, there's something that you have. I brought up before with KA because I'm always interested in how candidates come up with slogans and what they mean. So tell me a little bit about keep bacon, egg, and cheese on a roll at $3.50.
Yeah, so the bacon, egg, and cheese is the quintessential New York staple. It's a basket item, as you would refer to in economics. Your local New Yorker might go to the bodega and ask for bacon, egg, and cheese, and they typically expect to pay $3, $3.50 at most. But food prices are skyrocketing along with rent. And if you look at a neighborhood like Williamsburg, for example, a bacon, egg, and cheese can cost you up to $5. This is a class-conscious message that actually resonates with the most vulnerable New Yorkers. And I think it's very important that we prevent gentrification by guaranteeing rent stabilization for all small businesses, so that when a small business's lease goes up at the end of when their lease is over, that it can only be increased by a certain amount, so that they don't get priced out and we have TJ Maxx and Target and Amazon taking over our communities.
Thank you. Great. That's great. I just love the slogan. And of course, I'm very fond of bacon, cheese on a roll myself. So yes, and that right. So what other issues are you looking at? Like what's been the campaign like on the ground? What's the experience you've had being out there? I know you're out. It is challenging to be out on the streets, but it seems like your campaign is doing some real street work right now.
Yep. Currently, we are out every day talking to voters on the ground. They love our messaging. The other slogan that we like to say to people is, hey, we're not a Democrat, not a Republican, a New Yorker. It's that message of unity that we're really trying to promote, because we are more divided now than ever before. And that is part of the agenda of the ruling class, is to divide and conquer us. They want to spread misinformation so that we can be angry and hateful at each other. They want us to be fighting each other so that we're distracted from the fact that corporate greed is the source of our suffering. And so that's one of the messages that I'm really trying my best to get out there on the ground. And in terms of other things that we're fighting for, one of the big things that I'm about is ending the war on drugs. Did you know that 1 in 4 prisoners in the world exist in American prisons? And a lot of that has to do with the war on drugs, which is a gigantic scam, as we know. Marijuana, which has been legalized in New York, during the pandemic has been deemed an essential business, selling marijuana. And yet there are still people, predominantly Black and brown, who are locked up in prison today for marijuana. But it's not just marijuana, it's all drugs. We need to decriminalize all drugs, especially drugs like psilocybin, which have been known to have therapeutic ramifications and have been beneficial for mental health. NYU has done a ton of research on psilocybin, and their case studies have shown that it can cure or nearly cure depression, PTSD, trauma, anxiety, stress. These are all very relevant today because we are in a mental health crisis where 1 in 10 Americans have seriously contemplated suicide during the course of this pandemic. Yeah,
thank you. That's so true. And it's, they're really important issues. There are issues that we don't hear about, from the Democrats who, certainly in New York City really dominate in the city council. And so having you as a city council candidate, and we hope in the city council one day, would really make a big change. What would you like people to know about how to contact you? What's important about your campaign now? Tell us how to find you.
Yeah, and that's an excellent point you bring up. That we are very democratically controlled, and what we need to do is have ranked choice voting in general elections. This year's primary was the first election where we had ranked choice voting, but guess what? It was only in closed primaries, which predominantly benefit the Democrats. If we really want to have proportional representation and equality in our democracy, we need to start by having ranked choice voting for all candidates, not just in closed primaries and special elections. So if you want to learn more about our campaign, you can go to our website, which is at the bottom of your screen, edwinfornyc.com. There's a big yellow donate button there. If you know anybody in New York who wants to donate $5, good news. There's a public funds matching system in New York City. So for every dollar that you contribute, it gets matched 8 to 1. So if you donate $1, that actually becomes $9. $10 becomes $90. $100, $900. This is how we can have a grassroots movement. This is how we can have a revolution outside of the two-party corporate duopoly.
Great. Thank you, Edwin. And congratulations on, making the criteria to be eligible for the New York City campaign finance funds. We want to be able to say that it gives the opportunity to grassroots local candidates to be able to run for office, but we do know that when they say it levels the playing field, that is not true, because there are lots of corporate loopholes. Democrats and Republicans are amassing huge amount of special interest and corporate money. But you sound like you have a really vibrant campaign, and I will see you in the streets of Queens someday soon.
Thank you, Gloria.
Take care.